Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. And we're glad to be here with you tonight. And we have a great panel and a great topic. This is something that a lot of people have asked for. And it's finally here. We were going to do it last week, but we needed to delay it for a little bit, which is fine. So here we are, finally. As promised, it's the Glen Show. It's all about Glen tonight. So if you're listening to the show and you want to skip all the frivolities and the greetings at the beginning, then you can skip to about the 10-minute mark, and then that's when we'll start talking. So and Little Ingstrom says I'm echoing. Anyone else? Does it sound like I'm echoing to anyone else?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lil Ingstrom. We'll keep an eye on that. And if anyone else comes in, then maybe they can tell me too and see if it's...
You're good.
Okay. All right. Salted Cedar, welcome. BB Truth, not echoing. Thank you so much. Salted Cedar says, sounds good. All right. All right. So we'll introduce the panel. We'll start with this. Well, I was going to say special guest. He is special, but he's not really a guest necessarily. Glen, say hello to the people.
Hello, my one and only chance at fame.
Yeah, babe, yeah. Yeah.
Go figure it'd be on True Story Live.
I know, right?
Yeah, what a coincidence.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, what other chance would you have that would even get you close to anything? Like, I don't know. I don't know what else it would be, but we're happy that you're willing to open yourself up to possible fame and fortune on TSL.
I'll just accept whatever, with grace, anything that's given.
Yeah, me too. That's a good attitude to have.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you, Glenn. Thank you. And, of course, Jen. Jen, how are you tonight?
Lovely.
Lovely.
Just lovely.
Just lovely. I'm glad you're here. You have a good day?
I had a great day.
Fantastic. All right. So we also have with us Joseph. Joseph has been on a couple of broadcasts already, I think.
Good evening.
Good evening, he says. Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We're glad to have you. And so I know you probably don't know Glenn as well, but this is a good opportunity for you to get to know him. And so if you have any questions, definitely get them ready.
Right on.
Yeah. Also with us tonight, he was getting ice cream. I'm not sure he's back yet or not. Yep, he's back. Welcome, Matthias.
How's it going, everybody? I was
Give a mouthful of ice cream.
No. I knew I was going last. But no, it's good to be here. And Glenn, it's much more than 15 minutes that we've known you. So
Yeah.
you've got much greater than just your glimpse of fame.
Mm-hmm.
You've got like hours of it.
He does. Yeah, he does.
Ouch. I'm embarrassed.
Hours upon hours and hours.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you in the chat room, we've been kind of talking about this. So if you have any questions for Glenn, be sure and put them in the chat and highlight them if you can. If not, if you put them all in caps, I'll be able to see them. But I will be checking periodically to see if you have any questions. And I will read the write-up. And
was Glenn going to read it or no?
yeah, Glenn, Glenn can read it. Glenn, if you want to read the write-up, that'd be absolutely wonderful.
I'd like you to read it. Yeah,
Okay.
You do a much better job.
Yeah, except the mispronunciations of a couple of words, it'll probably go by just fine.
Kakunadate.
Kakunadate. All right. Kakunadate. It sounds like a good song for a Disney movie, animated movie.
We'll test you on the what do you call it? The metro. It's not the metro, but the driverless train one. We'll see how you go with that.
Yeah.
Give you a mark out of 10.
Now, the
You
driverless.
word to look cucaracha. It fits perfectly. I just did it in my head.
Do it.
No. You do it. You do it.
No, I'm not doing it.
Glenn, go. He probably doesn't know La Cucaracha. Go on. Sorry to interrupt.
What are you asking?
Nothing. Never mind.
She's asking the word that you just pronounced for me. Say that word in the tune of La Cucaracha, La Cucaracha.
Get lost, Jen.
He says no.
I wasn't going to say I already am, but that would be that.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll get started. And tonight's topic is Tangerine Dream, Love on a Real Train. Aussie, Japanese, and travel flavor this evening. Open to questions. Any topic, no restrictions. Music is by Tangerine Dream. Song is Love on a Real Train. Video is on the Yurikamome, an above ground transit system in Tokyo. Yep, been on it many times. And we have posted the link. And before I continue, I just want to say this is a very relaxing video. I watched this last week. And the music is great. For those of you who haven't heard, it's instrumental. Tangerine Dream's mostly instrumental band. They're notorious for doing the soundtrack, the original soundtrack to the movie Legend, one with Tim Curry, Mia Sara, and Tom Cruise. Yes, yeah. Tom Cruise. So if you get a chance, it's very relaxing. Watch the video. Lots of sights and sounds, and it's good stuff. It'll put you in a relaxed mood, I think. I've always wondered, do the adventures we seek, the places we choose to visit, reflect our inner self? What would you choose? A bubble bath in Paris penthouse suite, the desert in Namibia, sleeping under the stars, or staying at home watching TV? Serious travel is no holiday. It's hard work. If you want to rest, head for the beach and put your feet up. 3 a.m., walking up Mt Sinai in the dark to see the sunrise, hardly knowing where your feet are on a rough track. Worth it, of course. But I wouldn't want to be a goat, not a blade of grass on the landscape. In life, we are all different. Only some get the wanderlust. Maybe there's a bit of that, too, in the way we think. Some want to open their minds. Some prefer the closed option. Personal choice. Visiting the unknown in the world can be as ethereal as it is distressing, as outworldly as it is confronting. Not speaking about a tour from the Hilton Hotel, mind you. Try India. That's another planet. Long ago, my wife and I decided that we would seek surreal experiences, those that made us feel humble and infinitesimal. Travel is not just about saying, I've been there. It's so much more. All one has to do is come out of the box and be open to whatever comes. Food poisoning, for example, can come at the most inopportune times. I smiled. That's just part of the deal. These are forever moments, real and true. Equating this to life, it's not always about having a guide to take you everywhere. The alternative is deliberately going out without a map, getting lost, and being forced to trust strangers. Somehow that trust always seems to get us home, in our case anyway. Leave you with this relaxing video of Sakura, cherry blossoms. That's where our next tour is headed in April 2020. And the link is posted for that as well. All right, so that's the topic for tonight and the read up. And so now we start the actual broadcast where we get a chance to ask Glenn some questions. So I will look in the chat first, and I see Mark in the chat. I sent you a link, Mark. I don't know if you saw your email. But Mark is one of the ones, Mark and Steve actually, are two of the people that had wanted to hear about Glenn's trips. and his travel. And so I had hoped that you guys had got some questions together. So, Mark, if you don't plan on coming on, you can ask the questions in the chat. No problem whatsoever. We're glad you're here. And then we can ask Glenn the questions from there. No problem. So without any further ado, does anyone on the panel have any questions for Glenn to start off? Oh, he's driving, he says. Mark says he's driving. Okay. Well, anyone on the panel have any? Jen?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, I know Glenn's favorite country is Japan to visit, but I want to know what is his second favorite and why.
Oh, good start.
Ooh.
Ooh, hot seat.
Yeah, that's probably a lot of people's second. But
Pick one or
Get
two.
close to the mic. When you're talking, Glenn, please try to get close to the mic. So,
is that better?
Yep.
No, let's go with Morocco. And why?
Okay.
It just it's a very beautiful country. Can be a challenging country, and the mentality of how society works is fascinating. And overall, I like going to the souks and bargaining with those very hard-ass Moroccans.
Yeah, say a little bit about that. What's that like? Especially for, well, you're not an American, but you were mentioning to me off air yesterday about their dislike of Americans and stuff. But talk a little more about that. I think that's interesting.
Well, we could look at that from two ways in general, with the general attitude of travelers in countries that are not of Western culture. Americans tend to be frowned upon.
Mhm.
Well, probably two main reasons. Number one is their expectation that if things aren't like they are in California or somewhere else,
Mhm.
they start whinging about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have an expectation, but they don't seem to cotton on real fast that, hey, hang on, you're in another country.
Mhm.
And certainly number two in Morocco is the Americans, particularly people from the USA, their general reluctance to bargain for things, and that is culturally offensive. And as I said to you when we had that chat, yes, it's they will roll their eyes at you big time and just sort of be pretty disgusted by the behaviour. Not that they won't sell it to you, but they'd prefer to take less money and you partake of the cultural niceties. And I think that really applies to any country.
Yeah.
So that's the two things I would say that I've noticed so much. In general, the Americans are really individually quite nice, but it just comes across sort of like as a collective opinion that is out there.
Yeah.
So, Glenn, are you saying that in Morocco, the sellers, the street sellers, or sellers in general, like when people bargain?
Well, it's culturally demanded that you bargain.
Okay, cool.
And if you don't want to, well, let's give you an example. If I want to buy a piece of pottery in Morocco and I race into the shop and say to the guy, "How much?" and he says, "We'll use dollars, $10," and I say, "Okay, here's $10." Well, you get absolutely no respect.
Wow.
If I go in and he says, "You want tea?" and I say, "Yes, we have tea, with or without sugar." It's pretty horrible stuff, but and then you start the process. Now, if you're a genuine person, you can have a lot of fun, but you need to be prepared to take the time. This is not a 5-minute exercise to buy stuff. It's you go through a process. And usually you establish a rapport that you both know that you're going to reach a deal. There's going to be a point somewhere in the middle where you're actually going to do the deal, but you just have to chill out and go with the process, and you can have a lot of fun. Like I've bargained my shorts or my shoes or socks or anything, stuff like that. No trouble at all. That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're expected.
What about the food there? So while we're on the topic of Morocco, I'm sure you guys would sample the local cuisine, and how does that match up to other places?
I'd say it's a bit unique, but probably more equates to the Middle Eastern style of food. Things like tagines and that are pretty much the way they do that. They're just like the stews that they cook in those triangular shaped pottery dishes.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty much Moroccan, but you'll get pretty much because there's a huge French influence in Morocco, and not having some French to speak can be a disadvantage.
Yeah,
If
of
you
course.
find that you can eat pretty easily there, no trouble at all. But the food's diverse, it's flavoured, which is good. That you don't. It's not like it's breakfasts are more like continental breakfasts would be in the United States, where they'll bring you eggs and bread
Yeah.
and jam and
Uh-huh.
condiments and all that kind of stuff. It's not like Western. You go to an English or Scottish hotel and you get the full breakfast with sausages and bacon. No, that doesn't happen.
Oh, give me Scottish breakfast anytime.
No, that's not how it works. But the good thing is, it's not out of it. It's not made. They don't get a jar of jam. They make it. There's lots of yogurts and all that kind of Middle Eastern type stuff. Hummus, tabbouleh, that type of food.
I love
really.
tabbouleh.
Yeah, very much Mediterranean style.
Okay. Well, good.
Actually, I heard someone tell me once that when you, I think you've been to France, Glenn. France.
Big bud.
You've been to France.
Yeah, but not too much.
Okay.
I don't really like Europe that much because Western doesn't really turn me on that much. Although I've been to 10 or 15 countries there, it's not. I don't find it very exciting.
I've heard that the French get really perturbed when American people come in and they just talk to them in English, because it's presumed that the French are like, if you're in my country, you need to speak my language, which I do understand.
Yeah.
But I wasn't
I
sure
think
if you
that's
experienced that.
I think that's what's the word I'm looking for? I think that's
Universal.
a yes and a no answer.
Yeah.
I think some people see the French as up themselves, arrogant, just don't really want to, engage. But I haven't really found it to be like that. I think if you even if you don't speak the language, even an attempt at a couple of words in French, it seems to get you good. It gets you off on the right foot, put it that way. And look, let's face it, we all know a couple of French words, a couple of Spanish words, Italian words.
Yeah.
It works. It works
Yeah.
fine. I've never had an issue in France with it at all. No.
Mm.
So if they make an attempt, then if the tourist makes an attempt to try to say some things, then it comes across better.
Look, some people, it's like everywhere. Some people care and just looking for any reason to just make a scene, and other people don't care. I mean, it just depends on the individual. Some people are narky, some people aren't.
Yeah.
You just learn. That's how it is,
Okay.
and you deal with it.
What's the worst thing about Morocco before we move on?
You're going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing they tell you, because first of all, let me explain.
Uh-huh.
The stuff that we've done is not in Western hotels. This is down in the dirt.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And you are going to get sick. I mean, you can take all the precautions you want, but you're going to get it from the water. And if you eat a tomato or anything that's got water in it, you're open to it. So you just accept the fact you're going to get food. You're going to get food poisoning. You're going to get the run.
See, I don't want to accept that fact, Glenn.
But the good thing, JC, is that the more you go to these places, the better you get immunity to it. I found that.
Yes.
And I don't get touch wood, don't get sick in any third world country nowadays.
Okay.
Because
Now-
I've been through it.
Now, Joseph, this is mostly about Glenn, but that doesn't mean we can't be involved. So you're saying yes. Now, are you saying yes to Morocco? Have you been to Morocco as well?
Oh well, no, it's the Middle East.
Middle East. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just the tradition of eating with your hands, right? I know that from we were told in the Army, just don't drink the water, but sometimes you have to, because what if you run out of water? So you build up an immunity, like Glenn is saying. I agree with that. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joseph.
Yeah, and I wouldn't drink the water there. That's for sure.
Right.
In Morocco, no way.
Well, how do you avoid that, though? I mean, so you can't.
Well, I would generally buy bottled water, and I would clean my teeth with bottled water. But look, sometimes these days I don't really care because I've been through all this. I know what to do if I get crook. So I just run with it. You get a bit. I think when you're a first time traveler, you're really pedantic and a bit chicken hearted and scared that it's all going to go pear shaped on you. But as the more you travel, and
That'd be me.
You just get a bit laid back about the whole deal and go with it.
Now, see, I have no. Oh, sorry.
You go. Sorry.
No, you go. I apologize. Please go ahead.
If you're going to worry that every piece of lettuce you eat is going to make you sick, what are you going to eat? You got to eat it.
Yeah.
You just eat it.
Yeah.
Get on with it.
Yeah. There are certain countries that I wouldn't be I wouldn't be afraid to go visit, and you're saying that you don't really care as much about Europe because it fits into the Western idea. So those countries would be the ones that I would probably be more likely to not have a hard time with. One of the things you mentioned in the write-up was India, a whole nother world. So we could talk about that unless anyone else had another question before we moved forward. Anyone else have a question for Glenn as it relates to travel? Okay. So tell us a little bit about India. You said it was a whole nother world. So go into what that means to you.
What it means is if you've ever seen poverty and dirt and homeless and rats and a whole lot of stuff which would just make the average person really lose their breakfast.
Yeah.
Like when you're down in this right at street level, it is another planet. I've never seen anything like it. Like piles of crap 3 feet high outside houses and stuff like this. You have no idea. If you don't have, in the places we've been, if you don't have a strong stomach, you're going to be throwing up real fast. In fact, one day, Sandra nearly threw up in Varanasi when they were getting with the bodies there, going to the burn up.
Yeah.
She just held on, and I was laughing my head off. I was very naughty.
Was this a story you told me about her getting sick?
No, but it might have been. I said that she. Oh no, that's in Egypt on the train.
Someone got sick and someone started laughing.
Yeah, it was glad. It was glad.
Well, she's
I
my
would have
wife.
punched
I love
you.
her. I can get away with it.
Oh my gosh.
But that's how it works. You just got no choice. As Joseph would know, if he's in the army, there are times if
you're away from your mic.
Oh, sorry. As Joseph said, if there's times where if you get sick, mate, you've just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And get on with it. You don't like we're out in India, and a lady. Just to give you an example, we're way out. Like I think we're about 100 miles or less from the Pakistani border. There's absolutely no facilities out there. A lady there, we thought she got a detached retina.
Oh man.
Oh crap! This is a problem because the nearest doctor was like 500 miles away that would be able to help her. So what was the response that we got? It's not really that bad because even if you lose that eye, you've got another one.
Oh my gosh.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't understand.
Detached retina, and they basically said, "Oh, what if you lose that eye, you have the other one."
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the poverty is just mind blowing. Seeing people just living on median strips on busy, intersections and stuff like this. I think I've mentioned that to you. It's just that they're trying. and in Delhi they have a wall where. Well, let me put it to you this way: you would not go in a public toilet. There's
Right.
absolutely no way. You might find a space behind the public toilet, but you ain't going inside.
Oh my
Why
gosh.
not? Why not? It's so bad, you mean?
Full of crap.
Jan, just sit back, relax, and just think about why I said that.
Okay.
It's so bad. It's just like you can't do it. Even I reckon I would throw up. I reckon.
Well, okay, so where do you go to the restroom then, Glenn? Where do you go?
Well, if you're on the street and there's no toilet, you find somewhere safe and you do what you got to do. That's what everyone else does.
Okay, so see, this doesn't sound appealing to me at all. What's the appeal of India?
The appeal was it's a place I hadn't been, and I wanted to see what it was like for myself.
No, I mean in general. I mean.
Oh, okay. It's when the main places we spent time with was in Rajasthan, which has got it's a total contradiction. There's absolutely beautiful architecture and stuff like that, and it's like it's just fabulous. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
But and with that, you have to accept that there's like the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
It's like it's just that in India it's so extreme.
It's that cut and dry, huh?
Yep.
Very much so. There's not much. There's not much. Although in other places there's middle ground and middle classes coming through, but up where we were, it's like the absolute bottom of the barrel people with nothing to the people who would live in mansions. And when you would and have been in one or two of those mansions, then you walk out the front door and then you hit poverty. It's just like, within 1 yard.
Wow.
You go from the bottom to the top. That's
seriously.
Absolutely seriously.
Wow.
It's just mind blowing.
Wow, that does blow my mind.
Yeah, it is. And then you see, like the first hotel we stayed at when we got to Delhi, and there was a lady there was coming on. We did sort of grassroots travel tour with other people. She said, "Oh, this is the worst. I've been here for 20 minutes." She said, "This is the worst decision I've ever made."
Wow.
She'd already looked out the window and seen a tuk-tuk go down the hole in the road at the front of the hotel. And on the block of land next to the hotel, they had a tent camp for the homeless.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
So
and
what?
Go on. Sorry.
So what is being? Is there? Does it seem like there's any effort in the homeless, or is it just so rampant? There's not much that can be done.
I think there's just so many people. I think that's the problem. It's just so overpopulated that, like, it's only recent that there's been a government decree that, now what do they call Sandra? No, she's just not around. That there's the lowest caste, as you know, they've got a caste system, class system. If you're only just recently have the people in the lowest class structure actually been able to get a job in the government.
Wow.
And yeah, and of course, once you go out into places where it's really, have you seen the movie? What's that movie? The one that was really famous.
Slumdog Millionaire.
That's the one. You see that one at the beginning when the kids are jumping around in the sludge?
Yes.
That is exactly how it is in some places.
Yeah.
It's dust. And when I saw on that there was this beautiful clean station, I thought, yeah, right. They must have cleaned that up. Because even in big stations I've been to, like might have been one, I can't remember which, but big towns, it's a case you have to walk over the homeless, the rats, just the filth, just to get on the train.
Oh man.
Wow.
I'm not exaggerating. Seriously, I'm not.
I believe you.
It's this is how it is. It's just like so in your face.
Yeah.
You know how they say, "Oh, there's the begging mentality."
Yeah.
If you happen to be in a bus or a van or something, and then you stop somewhere, it's like you get inundated with this huge crowd where you got to fight your way out because they're just all in your face for money and handouts.
Yeah.
Dang.
So, is crime a major factor then too?
I can't answer that, but I know. Am I allowed to say this? I know the Indians are not too respectful in general of women. I've had, my wife and I were walking down by ourselves, just down the street. It's pretty dusty in Delhi, and this guy on a motorbike pulled up, and he just got off his bike, and he came up to my wife, and he said, "I want to F you."
Oh.
Can you believe it?
Whoa.
That's inappropriate.
Oh, I think she kicked him right out fast.
Oh.
I think he got on his bike fast.
Mhm.
I wonder what he would have done if she said, okay.
I think he probably would have got on his bike even quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Wow.
Was it you that was saying about enlightenment? I'll give you a classic. There's this place, I think it's like a place called Pushkar or somewhere similar, where all the wannabe gurus go to find enlightenment and wander around in the robes and all this, and it's all like a big showpiece. Everybody's all a bit surreal, and it's all.
Yeah.
Then at their lake, there's a sign: beware of pickpockets, thieves,
Oh, yeah.
rapists. Like, and here
Oh,
you are in
jeez.
this enlightened thing in this enlightened
Wow.
place, and there's all these signs about criminals, people to
Yeah.
take you down, we'll bash you on the head, all this kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
totally contradictory.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible.
I've got the photos.
We believe you, Glenn. There's actually a place, and I don't know where it is. Maybe you'll know, Glenn. But where the monkeys will pick your pockets and take things from you. Like, they have owners that have trained them to come up to you, and they even know how to be like really friendly and funny at first to kind of to get you calm, and then the next thing they do, they're grabbing your phone or your purse or your wallet out of your pocket and then running off.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've seen that before, but I didn't know they were trained. But the thing is, number one is you don't carry food in your bags.
Right.
And like, there's certain things that you do so that you're not going to get picked on. Like
Right.
some particular groups of tourists
Yeah.
at this point, who shall remain nameless, just think, well, let's get a selfie with a monkey.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like-
boy.
They got rabies, some of these animals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
right?
totally.
Woo.
They're bonkers.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Come on.
I would totally do that.
You would get a selfie with a monkey.
Cute monkey.
That's right,
Ah!
Jen. That's right, Jen. If you've got a banana in your bag, they're going to take it. And if you don't give it to them, you're going to cop it.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
They don't take no for an answer.
No.
And they can even smell if you've had a banana in your bag.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
jeez.
So,
Yeah.
Glenn,
Patrick's-
what do you do then to, like, you're already a tourist, you're a Westerner, so you're already going to stick out like a sore thumb.
Oh, yeah.
And are you trained well enough in your travels to prevent or like minimize you sticking out even more? What do you do?
Oh, well, number
That's a
one
great
is,
question. Yeah, that's a great
it-
question.
It is a good question. Well, number one is you don't carry the flash camera around your neck and have a
Thank you.
Rolex on your arm and all that. You try to remain inconspicuous. Simple. You don't wear
Huh.
your flashy new clothes with your Prada bag and all that kind of stuff.
Leave the fanny pack back at the hotel.
You dress right. You dress right down.
Wow.
So, and that, because the first thing is that if you're going to run into people who are going to rob you, they're going to make a call that you're going to be worth robbing in the first place. But if you just appear like you've got nothing on you,
Yeah.
Dang.
don't leave you alone.
Okay.
We've never been pickpocketed or robbed, but we know some people who've gone on trips and they've been had their bags rifled like 4 times in a week.
Wow.
Wow.
Because they've got it on their back with the strap open. What
Yeah.
are they saying? Come and take it.
Yeah, they are. Wow.
Like, crazy.
That is crazy.
So what
Common
about colors? Like colored clothing? I mean, Do you wear bright colors, or are you like neutral tones?
I've never really thought about it, but in general, I would have my travel gear in places which could be, like a bit like, say, India or that. They're always going to be subdued. I'm not going to wear a tropical beach shirt
Right.
in Delhi.
Right.
Sure.
And don't buy a T-shirt from a souvenir shop too. Like,
Great.
I
Yeah,
know
good idea. Yep.
I know this doesn't apply as much because generally in Florida it's not really dangerous to go. But when I lived there, you could spot a tourist from a mile away because they just like Glenn was saying, they got the camera around their neck and they got the souvenir gift shop T-shirt that says some crazy thing. I went to Florida and all I did was got this T-shirt or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I love New Delhi.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Joseph. You made my analogy work. Thank you so much.
The Chinese have T-shirts for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so blend in. That's a good tip. And gosh, I would just know ahead of time before I went to another country. Try not to stand out. I'm going to stand out anyway, probably.
Right.
I would just try to just dress normally and not be flashy and just be self-aware. I mean, especially if you don't know what you're getting into.
Okay, well, just like you go to, say, a Muslim country for a lady, you're not going. Oh, we've been to Iran, okay, and well, you're not going to go down the street in Tehran with a bikini on, are you?
No, you're not.
No,
not unless you're complete and total.
Common sense. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense. Yeah. Wow.
So, where's the most people-friendly place that you've been? People-friendly country where everyone's just welcoming and helpful and all that.
Okay, let me just. Do you mind if I ask my wife here? She's just turned up.
No, go ahead.
Hey, darling, what's the most friendly?
Absolutely.
Place?
While we're waiting on him to ask, I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you for being here tonight. It's a little bit of a different show, at least for the beginning. We may get into some deeper stuff toward the end. We'll just have a little bit of fun here and letting Glenn be in the spotlight because he's done such a great job with all the write-ups, and we're very glad to have him be a part of this particular family. And a lot of people that wanted to hear more about the travels and stuff. So that's kind of what we're doing tonight. So thank you.
Sandra says she's never been to an unfriendly place.
No kidding. Wow.
Rapture Ready says, friendliest place equals deserted island.
I think we might have been to those too.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get to Japan, but before we do that, so if India is that bad, other than Japan, then what's the nicest place? The place with the least poverty and the
Kuwait.
And not in a Western. Joseph? You said Kuwait.
Mm-hmm.
You want to say more about that?
Oh, besides a small little part of Kuwait that I've seen, there was no poverty because people that have money, almost all the families there in Kuwait have money. So you're
wow.
All of the buildings, the airports, the roads were spectacular.
Yeah.
Not a flaw.
Right.
That's from what I've seen.
Okay.
I would have to say that. Yeah.
Thanks, Joseph. Glenn?
That sounds a bit like Doha, Joseph, but they're not that friendly. They're a bit up themselves. They've got so much money, and they're a bit like superior.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I really like Syria, obviously before all this stuff started, but something about that place which is very attractive. Just the people, amazing. The architecture, like I said, just the place itself. It's a lot of history, and the culture, amazing.
Wow.
And
that's
extremely
beautiful.
safe. Extremely safe. See, Muslim countries in general are really safe. Look, take out the hard heads, but in general terms, they're way safer than Western countries.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. Liberally conservative says Switzerland. Have you been to Switzerland, Glenn?
I have been to Switzerland. I find it's bland.
Oh, why?
It's just boring.
Boring. Yeah. Now, you say that because, as we mentioned in the write-up, I mean, you want to experience. Well, you say in your own words. I don't have to say it. Explain why it was bland. What are you looking for when you travel mainly? Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'm looking for the experiences I can't get at home.
Okay.
That's the thing I want. That's why you go to India, not because it's going to be necessarily a rosy experience, but it's something so different that
Interesting.
when you walk away from that place, you don't forget it.
Right.
Whereas
Wow.
Switzerland, my mind would just blend into Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Czech Republic, all that sort of stuff. I don't really have much that attracts me to those places. Not like I took Michael, my son, to when Sandra couldn't go because of her issues, to see the Aurora Borealis way up like 200 or 300 miles inside the Arctic Circle.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
In Finland, well, that was pretty amazing.
Okay.
So that's different. That's an experience. That's just not going to some country and saying, "Oh, gee, it looks pretty."
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Mm. So, Glenn, your mindset when you travel is really different. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, honestly, if you do travel, but it is for the experience for yourself, that you want to make sure you walk away from that country saying, wow, that's the real India. That's the real Japan.
Correct.
Would you?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. I want an emotional experience
Right.
Hmm.
because that's what sticks in your head.
Right.
Just saying, "Oh, well, the Arc de Triomphe looks really great," or that landscape's nice. I want to come away. Like a lot of those surreal experiences actually come from meeting different people
Okay.
in places where there are people.
Yeah.
And people the world over are the same as much as they are different.
Yeah.
They want what we want. They want peace. They want a roof over their head,
Wow.
food for their family. It's no different in Syria than it is in Australia.
Okay.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Are there places that you've been that, even though you had whatever experience you were looking for, that you won't go to again?
Ooh, good question.
Well,
No.
thank you. No?
No,
Okay.
not at all. I would pick some over others,
Right.
Huh.
of course. Like I thought that I would never be interested in seeing animals like elephants and leopards and stuff like in Africa.
Uh-huh.
So we decided, yeah, Sandra, this was after. Oh, no, that's Sandra's just saying to me. I said I wanted to go to South Africa for the wildflowers.
Okay.
Whoa.
But actually what we did was we hired a four-wheel drive and I drove like through South Africa and then up into Namibia through the desert and saw all these animals.
Wow.
And I was just like, this is so much better than I could have ever imagined. It was just surreal.
So you did that on your own without a tour guide?
Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh,
just
that's
hired
incredible.
four-wheel drive. I took another, because Sandra's incapacitated from her stroke, I got another guy to come with us just in case I got crook or I needed another driver, but it ended up I did all the driving.
Mm.
Because I've got four-wheel drive experience, so I don't have a problem with it. So
Oh, sure.
and
So-
it was just absolutely magic.
Wow.
So in the one of the things you mentioned in the write-up, this isn't a Hilton hotel tour, because those obviously we all know what those are. You're staying at a certain resort or hotel, and they have a tour. You can get on a brightly colored bus that'll take you to certain spots. I mean, especially in Hawaii. I mean, they're everywhere there. But you want to go off with Sandra or whoever you're traveling with on your own and just kind of see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll like places like India. I wouldn't go myself, but we do like ecotourism with a group of 10 people from all over the world, and you just join up and.
Uh-huh.
But it's at low level.
Okay.
You're carrying your own bags.
Okay.
You're going into places that you couldn't go yourself because you wouldn't have enough experience.
Right.
And there's just some things that are better to go with the group, and other things you do yourself.
Now, if you do travel in a group, are you making sure they are experienced in traveling at least?
Ooh, great question.
Usually you usually find the people that want to come down at the lower levels are experienced.
Okay. Yeah. Because I would be the inexperienced traveler. I
Same
would be,
here.
give me the Hilton Hotel tour, please.
Well, you need to know how to be self-sustaining if you get into trouble. Whilst people will help you, but if you get the food poisoning, you're going to have to deal with it, and you're going to have to be on and work out how you're going to be up and going the next
Yes.
day or whenever you need to go. So you've got all the strategies because you've done it before.
Mhm.
Wow.
So you know you're not going to die, even if you feel like it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Little Ingstrom has a question for you, Glenn. Have you been to Israel?
I haven't been to Israel, no,
Oh.
because they told me if I got an Israeli stamp in my passport, I couldn't go to Iran.
Oh, interesting.
And
Wow.
Wow.
I don't think they even issue visas to Americans. I'm not sure on that totally, but they certainly weren't issuing them when I went.
Wow.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, that's
When
interesting.
Sandra and I went, we went all over the country, like all over Iran. We went with a group that was sort of headed by a world Persian carpet expert. So we're interested in Persian carpet, so that worked out. And we were good friends with him as well, so that worked out brilliantly.
Right.
I loved that country. It was just fascinating.
Hendrik says go to Iran first.
Sandra, you said something. Hang on. Oh, spoke Farsi. Oh, Sandra says he spoke Farsi too, so that helped.
Oh, Farsi, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Israel's never really interested me. And of course, what happens is you can only do so much. Like we would have had
Sure.
another 10 years of travel under our belt. Only Sandra stroked out. So that's just, we've done a lot of travel since, but obviously you have to change the method and what you can do when someone's got issues, yeah. So, but we went to Iran after Sandra had her stroke, so we've done a lot of stuff subsequent, but just can't walk up mountains and stuff. That's all.
Right. What was the food like in Iran? And the reason I asked before you answer the question, I had a friend that was dating a woman from Iran, and she made rice with egg in it.
Oh.
And it was fantastic, actually.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd never heard of that mixture before. So what was the food like for you in Iran, you and Sandra?
I would say generally pedestrian. I wouldn't get excited, but because it's sort of similar all through. But what was that cucumber stuff? That cucumber and yogurt. I've never tasted anything like it. It was fantastic.
Oh,
So
really?
Yeah. Stuff you
Yum.
wouldn't believe we go together. It was just
that
really
sounds
incredible.
refreshing.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Wow.
Very much.
Okay.
Like just regular yogurt, not like flavored.
Their yogurt per se is what they make and let it sit overnight. It's not like you get yogurt out of a container.
Yeah.
It's fresh.
Right.
And you eat a lot of that because it's a good natural defense against bugs.
Bingo.
Is that right?
Yeah. You really get stuck into that stuff.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily smooth and creamy like the stuff you get out of the at the supermarket.
Right.
A lot of times it's quite runny, or it can be anything you like. It just depends how long they let it ferment and do what it needs to do.
Okay.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's extremely tasty. The meat. What did someone said? What's the meat you get in Iran? Was it
Lamb?
A lot of lamb.
Yeah.
Sandra said.
Well, I've had that. It's good.
And quint. Was it lemon quint stew with it? Oh, she's saying lamb and quince stew. I've got headphones on. I can't quite hear what she's saying. Yeah.
Okay.
She remembers everything. It's just a blur to me, most of it. She doesn't have to remember anything else.
Right. Hendrix asked, have you been to Greece?
Yes.
Okay. Talk about Greece a little bit for Hendrix.
What are we talking? Mainland or the islands?
You decide. You decide.
Well, the islands are absolutely stunning. We've been to quite a few.
Okay.
And Greek islands.
Yeah.
And stayed on them for like quite a few nights at a time. Probably at the end of the season, you get the ferry out from Piraeus.
Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous.
They are just quite stunning. Now the Greeks have got a bit of a monopoly, and you got to be a bit careful you don't get ripped off. I have a famous rip-off story.
Okay.
Tell us.
Oh yeah, this is where Glenn gets done and hides his head in shame.
Uh-oh. Guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame.
Oh, Sandra, I don't want to say it. It makes me look stupid, but then again, she's just laughing her head off. Okay, there's this thing that they put a thing out the front, like you want to eat fish, right? You're in the Greek island, so they say, "Oh, free drink, come in and whatever, and
sure.
you can have your dinner and whatever."
Right.
But what I didn't realise until people told me later that it's a total rip-off. You go in and then they cook your fish, but then you get the bill at the end of the day, and it's like $200.
Oh.
And they just take tourists down like crazy. I think I said, seafood platter, but the seafood. Then they charge you individually for each piece under a saying, and it comes to some humongous amount of money that's almost the cost of your holiday.
Oh my gosh!
Wait, so they don't price their stuff beforehand on the menu?
No, they do with something, but the seafood platter's the rip-off.
Okay, the rip-off.
So no seafood platter. Anybody going to Greece?
No, make sure you know the price and what you declared up front, and don't have any belief that that it's going to be fair.
Right.
Have you? I'm sorry, Glenn. Go ahead.
Okay, go. You're right.
Have you been to Sardinia?
We've been
the island of Sardinia.
I've been to so many. Like, have we been to Sardinia? No, we've been to Corsica and all that. Quite a few of the other ones. I don't think Sardinia's on the list.
Okay.
But quite a few others around in the Mediterranean.
Okay, so the islands of Greece are pretty awesome. Yeah,
they're beautiful.
So then the mainland.
Very different. We went on we did a really quick tour out of Athens and out to the west and through some of the ancient sites. And it was pretty rough and ready, but geez, it was a good time. The food was awesome.
Awesome.
And I enjoyed it. I like Greece.
Okay. Perfect.
I mean, we know the country in a whole big time, but yeah, I really liked it. I'd recommend people go there for sure.
Okay. Now you mentioned briefly breakfast in Scotland, so I want to hear more about that.
Is that the breakfast where you can't stand up after you eat it?
Yes,
that's the best.
Oh, I'll just confirm, and if Sandra will correct me if I'm wrong. No, it's the full Scottish breakfast, and it has sausages. Eggs, hash browns.
Yes.
Black pudding.
Oh,
what else?
Black pudding. Like chocolate.
Bacon. It's just like a grease overload.
Oh, nice.
And it's humongous. Like you just want to. If you eat small breakfast, I advise you to keep your eyes shut because you're going to die.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah. So but the good thing is a lot of it's protein, and if you eat that for breakfast, you don't really need to buy lunch.
Yeah.
Because you're staggering for about 8 hours afterwards.
That's right. Yeah. So you plan it for a day when you don't have the tour planned.
It's another money saving tip on travel.
Nice.
But the food in Scotland is so freaking bland. It's just that has got to be the most boring food in history.
Which food?
Scotland. The food is boring.
That's why they put vinegar on.
That's
Is
you
it
saying.
Ireland or Scotland?
Yeah.
Well,
Don't they put
that's
vinegar
me
on
saying
everything?
it. It's a personal opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't need the same thing every day and every night.
Right. Right. I gotcha.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah.
black pudding?
Sandra, what's black pudding? Blood of what?
Ah!
Whoa.
Sandra said it's just blood. It's black. And I said, what's the blood from? She said, anything they can find.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
gross,
that's
dude.
terrible. That's terrible.
I didn't touch it. I wouldn't eat it.
No, I will
You
not eat it.
No, Sandra let it go too. I think she hid it in a handbag.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had this conversation. Yeah. My dad.
I'm gonna
Yeah, that's
take my
right.
black pudding to the bathroom with me. I'll be right back.
Golgotha says blood sausage. That'd be pretty close to the money, I would say.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So let me ask this. So my dad went to Nigeria, and he brags because he ate goat testicles when he was there, because that was what was served, and he's real proud that he had the courage
Wow.
to try goat testicles. So in that same vein, are you like that as well? Like you passed on the black pudding, but are there other things that you've had that most people would just shudder if they knew that you'd eaten it?
Yeah, and I'd say I've had a lot of stuff that I didn't even know what I was eating, but I know we've eaten like rats and stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh.
Oh.
On skewers and
Yeah.
puffer fish. We've had puffer fish. Lots of stuff that we don't really know, because if you're there and they serve it up and you eat it because you don't want to be culturally offensive.
Oh, tell them about the wedding you went to with the pumpkin.
Okay. Yeah. Here we go.
Glenn
what's-
hates pumpkins.
I absolutely. Pumpkin is a gag food for me.
Okay.
But that was in Australia. Is this the one where I told you where we went to the party, the engagement party?
And it was like everything was pumpkin themed.
Everything was, they served up pumpkin soup, and I thought, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to prepare myself for the ordeal? Somehow I got through it, but I was not feeling very well. So then they serve up, after the pumpkin soup came up, like pumpkin pie, and I'm, oh no. No, this is not. That was a way worse experience than India. Let me tell you.
Oh
God,
my
seriously. Oh man.
Oh man,
Have you ever had sweetbread, Glenn?
I'm not sure that we have, but we wouldn't know. See, they serve up stuff to us in all these places. I don't know what it is. I just eat it.
Yeah.
I got used to that now. I just don't. You don't ask what it is. You just sort of try to get it down here and hope that it stays there.
I would be offending people all over the place. Like, nope, sorry. Gotta pass.
Well,
Sorry. Bye. Ah.
I'm not eating things that I don't know what it is.
See, even my son Michael, when he goes to Japan, he's got the Asperger's. Even he's aware that there's a certain standard of cultural nicety that you go through, and he'll eat stuff that he doesn't know what it is. I mean, that's for him. Like, he wouldn't do it at home.
Not this guy. Nope.
Nope.
So as not to offend people, I would have to choose to visit countries where they're okay with me not eating gross crap.
But you probably offend people in every country you visit, so I don't think it makes much difference.
Ouch.
You set yourself up for that.
I always do.
No. Look, seriously, you can work around it. There's some things you just got to accept as part of the adventure.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're in the desert, we were at like in Egypt, and we went. I think it was like the Namibian. No, what do they call it? No, we went to that. I was talking to someone. We went to that village where they had given us dinner, the feast. What do they call the feast to those people?
I guess he's asking her.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. While you're doing that, welcome Esteban.
Yeah. Sorry.
Esteban.
It just was dead air. That's all.
No, it's okay.
Esteban? Say hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey,
All right. Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, so we're in Egypt and we go to this village where there's incredibly poor people, but are there and they eat minimalist, like very, very, very simply because they have nothing basically, and the people we go with actually support children in that village, like it's a as part of the money that you can donate to help the kids to get
Wow, that's
food
beautiful.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really about sustaining money, staying with the locals.
Yeah.
Right,
And so
right.
they put on this inverted commas feast. And it's really, really small amount of food, and it's just like you would if you were in a Western country and you got offered that, you would turn your nose up, but you be grateful.
Yeah.
And then you think they've given you and then you look what they're eating.
Yeah.
They're eating virtually nothing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's all relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. What they've given up is their own food.
Yeah. I've heard that too from other travelers, and it's like that in some of the poor places in Africa as well. They're
Yeah.
they're very welcoming, and so they will give up, like as you're saying, they'll give up their own food for guests.
Well, even in Muslim countries, they as part of their culture, they're obliged to
Yes.
offer you hospitality.
Right. Oh, they're
Oh,
obliged.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Sandra says specifically the Arabs.
The Arabs feel like they're obliged to do that. Is that right?
They're expected to do it. That's part of their modus operandi.
Interesting.
I have to step in here
Please
because
do.
that's what fascinated me about Iraq. I mean, for a year and a half, we patrolled the same town, and it was poor.
Yeah.
Very, very meager.
Right.
And a family, it's like we were being fed by one of these families every night. They would bring food out to us and they had nothing.
Yeah.
But that attitude of greeting somebody with food and making sure that you burp during the feast is very important because it's thanking the chef.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's recognizing that you're full and that you're satisfied. It's very appropriate.
Right.
So, man, yeah, that's right on. It always blew my mind.
Perfect. Thanks, Joseph. Appreciate
And to
that.
experience that, Joseph, you realise that just how much people can be generous and are willing to be generous without any thought of payback or just their nature.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
Wow. Fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about Japan a little bit. Japan, you've been to, Jen said in the chat, 24 times. Is that accurate?
I think it's only 21 or 22.
Okay,
I
close
saw a little.
enough. Close
Sorry,
enough.
Jen.
Good job, Jen. Yeah, close enough. So, talk about Japan a little bit, and for those of you listening, please take a chance and watch the video that we've put in the description at the very end, and look at the cherry blossom. So we can actually start there if you wanted to. I have watched the video, absolutely breathtaking. And someone pointed out in the chat that they were supplanted there, or transplanted from Tibet. Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Okay.
No, I don't know where they've come from, but I know there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them.
Right.
That's for sure. But I don't know their origin.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, you guys can watch the video, so we don't have to talk about it that much. It's kind of self-explanatory. It shows some of the beauty of that particular area. But there's a lot to say about Japan. So start anywhere you like, and give people an idea of the different things they can look forward to if they decide to travel there.
Well, perhaps since I ask a lot of questions, how about you ask me questions and I'll answer them?
Okay. What's your we're talking about how welcoming people are, so we can start there. How welcoming are the Japanese people?
The Japanese are culturally welcoming, but don't be mistaken. but cultural nicety doesn't mean they like you.
Okay. Well, that's
Okay,
good to know.
Japanese are very, very much about not saying what they're thinking. So you have
Yes.
to take that with a grain of salt. It's just like if good manners are an expectation, but that they don't reflect anything
Right.
other than manners.
Okay.
So yeah, the where you find you get the respect and the Japanese will open out to you is when you go off track. Very much so because it's expected when you go that 90% of people are going to do the corridor Tokyo, Kyoto, and Hiroshima.
Oh, okay.
That's where 90% of people go. They hop on the fast train and they go down, and I think up to Hiroshima from Tokyo is like 5.5 hours, something like that. It's not that far.
Right.
And you see it every time you go to those places. It's full of tourists. But when you go off track, it's a totally different ball game.
Right.
Usually they don't speak English,
Right.
and but you don't need necessarily to have Japanese. You can get through by gesture. Works well.
Okay.
And then I think you see the real attitude of the people because they they've got their hair down a bit more and a bit more authentic. It becomes a bit more fun.
Oh,
It,
that makes
and,
sense.
and way less formal. Like when you go to the ryokans, which are the traditional Japanese inns where you've got to get your gear off,
Uh-huh.
and you go in the hot springs. Well, it's communication in there. It doesn't really matter whether you're an Australian or
Right.
American or whether you're Japanese. We're all in the tub together. Simple as that.
That is
Wow.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Love that.
I like that.
It brings everyone down to the one level, and I never see any discrimination or anything like that there. I do see and hear that there is some people that are reluctant to have tourists because Japan's been a very isolationist country,
Uh-huh.
and occasionally you might see it. So culturally, I think you have to be, if you want to try to understand it, you don't. First appearances can be deceptive. That's what I would say.
Mhm.
And we've got friends there now, and they're just absolutely fantastic people. Fantastic. When we take tourists there, we catch up with them, go to dinner with them, and so they can actually see, meet real Japanese people.
Yeah.
And we go to traditional places to eat, and give fish heads and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
so so they're great. They're great people. And here's another thing, which I find really interesting. In the Western countries, what would happen here, or no doubt USA, if you see a child in a park sitting with his mother and you smile at that child and ask mother, could you take a photo? Because it's a beautiful child dressed up in nice clothes.
Right.
They're going to ring the police and say have you arrested because you're a child molester or a pedophile.
Oh, sure.
Over there, it's the total opposite. It's absolutely total opposite. There's no thought of child molestation or pedophiles.
Wow.
You engage
Wow.
with the parents and just politely ask or gesture, can you take a photo? Because the kids could be dressed up in like traditional costumes. They look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
They're happy to have their children photographed. That's all.
Aw.
And kids will approach you in the street. Like I got lost there the last time I was there. I had to find some factory that I was going to. I just asked a 15-year-old girl that was on the train with me, and she said, "Oh, okay." In Japanese, I'll just walk you down there. So she took 10 minutes of her time to show me exactly where I was going to go. And I said,
Aw.
thank you.
Wow.
It's not even thought of. It's a whole different sort of mindset.
Right.
They're not suspicious.
Oh,
Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really wonderful and
Hey.
refreshing to go there to do that.
Go ahead, Jen.
Glenn,
Yeah.
I overheard that the Japanese, when you give gifts, that they like really tiny gifts.
Mhm.
Is that true?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay.
No. It's a very gift giving culture.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, and when if we're going to visit our friend Marky, who's a child psychologist or clinical psychologist, we'll always take her something. Like she likes beer, so we'll take her Australian beer. Now that can be heavy and big, so it's not the size of the gift; it's knowing the person and what they like when you know them. She might give me green tea or something like that because she knows how much I like it. But it's very gestural and very much part of the whole way that things function, and hence a lot of the shops are set up specifically to buy gifts. The gift wrap, the $100 rock melon, or the things like this, or these beautiful stuff. You can buy really expensive stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but so it's like we went to my son Jonathan, because he speaks Japanese. He organised for Sandra and I to visit I don't know how he did it, one of Japan's foremost lacquerware painters.
Wow.
An old guy. He'd never had a Westerner in his house, so it was a very humbling experience. And we took him a bottle of the best sake.
Sure.
And he just absolutely loved
Joseph's like, why not?
it. Yeah. So, but in those cases, when you're visiting people, you ask, what is an appropriate gift for this occasion, and
Sure.
you just ask, and people are more than willing to tell you.
Awesome.
So amazing, just amazing stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so then how about the food in Japan?
Oh wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay.
Amazing. I just love it, and it's so diverse. That's what we do on our tours, because when we take people, we say, okay, are you interested in Japanese food? And usually as hands up. So we take people to anywhere we go, we get them to experience the regional specialty. It could be ramen, it could be a lamb dish, it could be anything.
Nice.
Whatever it is, it's a specialty. It could be beef even. It could be the hamburger shop in Takayama. They call it place for hamburgers. Well famous.
Me like
a hamburger shop.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
I would be attracted to the hamburger shop for sure. Let's have some Japanese hamburger.
Yeah, they don't do many hamburgers. Japanese. These are like Westernized, Japaneseized hamburgers.
Yeah, I know. I was just.
But they've got McDonald's. They have plenty.
I'm not going to go to Japanese McDonald's. I've made it all the way to Japan, and there's a McDonald's. No, I'm not.
Okay, well, they only eat small portions. Like, hey, so here's Subway for an example. You don't get a foot-long Subway. It doesn't exist. It's only a 6-inch.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
You can't upsize. You can't have a mega carton of Coke.
No super big gulps then.
Henrik asked, are Japanese offended by the term Jap? Let me tell you, I would never, ever, ever use that term.
Wow, yeah.
No. That just to me I don't know, but I feel it would be very culturally offensive.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't do that.
No.
One of the things maybe people don't understand is that the Japanese food that's offered here in America is completely different than real Japanese food. Is that correct?
Well, I can't speak for America, but I can speak for Australia.
Well, didn't you? I'm sorry. Did you have you had Japanese food here in America, or no? Maybe you haven't.
I normally won't eat Japanese food if I'm not in Japan.
And the reason why, yeah, there you go. Okay, because you know that it's bastardized here in America.
Well, the thing is, you will pay. If I eat a Japanese meal in Australia, it will cost me 3 times what it would be in Japan. It will be half as good.
Right.
I mean, I can get, if we're talking US dollars, I can get a fantastic meal for $10.
Right.
That's like three courses at least.
Wow.
Awesome.
But the key is,
Dude.
in any country, you must do what the locals do.
Yeah.
You don't go to a Western hotel. You don't go into the Western restaurant. You go to where the Japanese go.
Right.
Okay.
It's a no-brainer. But people, for some reason, think that it's they're scared. But No,
Hmm.
it's all they have most of the food in the takeaway or what you would call the fast food joints is way different in quality from what you would find, say let's compare. Let's just find a comparison.
If you compare it to Fort Mill, South Carolina, I'm going to be really upset.
The food in Fort Mill's vomit.
Shut up.
No, but you couldn't compare it because they use a lot of their stuff is just not processed.
Nope.
Right. Yeah.
It's fresh food. They've got the
Fresh
they've
food.
got you call them shrimp. They've got the prawns and the seafood. It's all come in on the day. It's not.
Oh my gosh.
It's not taken out of the freezer out of a frozen bag.
Oh.
Right.
So you can get big shrimps and squid and tempura vegetables, miso soup, and a drink for less than $10.
Yeah.
And it's like tempura that's not fatty.
Yeah.
It's just exquisite. Everything is light and smaller portions.
Well, sure. I can deal with small portions. That's not a problem. And especially if it's fresh.
Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, I probably don't have any idea how good the food quality is in some of these countries.
Sure. Me
You
either.
couldn't unless you've been there. You can't just because someone opens a Thai restaurant down the street. That's not necessarily like it is in Thailand. It's
That's my point. That's why I asked you about the Japanese food.
Oh yeah,
I had looked into this a little bit, and I've talked to a few people, including you, about the differences between what's considered Japanese food here, for instance, and then you just added to that. It's just completely night and day, comparatively speaking.
very much so. Very much so. The taste is totally different. As I said, it's not greasy and fatty. It tastes fresh.
Yeah.
It's closer. I'd say that Australian food is closer to Japanese food than American food. We have a lot less fat and sugar.
Right. I think that's good. Okay, so I want to hear a little bit. Do you know anything about this forest that people go to in Japan? And apparently, there's a lot of suicides there. You know anything about that?
If you could tell me which forest it is, I could comment. But
I can look it up.
Yeah, Jen will look it up what the name of it is. But
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, they've done movies about it and things like that. But apparently, there's a forest.
It's Oikigahara.
What?
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Please. I have to see where it is.
Here you go.
Now, just while you do that, now there is a suicide issue there. That's
in Japan. Okay.
Yeah. It's not uncommon, but not that common. I'll look at it in a sec, Jan. For people to throw themselves in front of trains and stuff like that.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
There's a lot of pressure. There is pressure to perform. That's the thing. If you do poorly at something or you don't achieve, it brings shame upon family. Now that is why it's not. It's more a community-based system. So hence, in order, and that shame situation exists, and it's quite powerful. And when it gets to the extreme, people kill themselves. It's a very sad situation. It's okay. Here's another example. People like theft is virtually unheard of. I could put my bag down one end of a train. I could come back and go down the other end, and I could come back and get it. No one will have touched it. If you get caught stealing, you bring shame on your family.
Wow.
It doesn't happen.
Right.
Very, very rare. I've never seen it happen in all that time.
Yeah.
And you will get the point. But now, if I did that in a Western country, well, crikey, so my bag would be gone in 10 seconds probably.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different mentality.
Yeah.
Very trustworthy place. You just
Family honor is important.
Extremely important. Yeah.
So you think that the pressure of keeping that up, the performance that must cause some people, they just get to the point where they can't deal with it.
Well, I can only relate to what my friend, the clinical psychologist, tells me.
Okay.
She did a lot of work with children and adults after the tsunami, and there was an incredible amount of people that went missing. There's still like 20,000 people went
Wow.
unaccounted for, and there was a huge amount of orphans as a result of that situation. So has been, and it put incredible pressure on even on communities, and she was dealing with teachers that were sent to that area to try to deal with that. Now, just the pressure that was on those teachers, she was telling me they were getting suicides because they just couldn't cope with the distress of the situation. So there's not only the shame, there's distress for other people suffering, which is playing extremely big.
Wow.
As well. And so she said she's dealing with a lot of depression as a result of that tsunami, which you would never know about.
No.
And still going on.
Wow, that's
it's quite incredible.
okay. On a more lighter topic, then, when you do these tours to Japan, what is the crowd pleasing place? What do people seem to enjoy the most? Is that too difficult a question to ask?
I can answer that generally, but I can tell you that they want to go off track.
Okay.
As soon as I notice that it's a very strong bias towards the experiences that you don't normally get. Because as soon as they come back into town and they go to the tourist spots, they say, "Oh my goodness, this is not what I want. This makes me feel uncomfortable." Because the crowds are huge, and there's obviously a commercial element to them. But when you take them out and they experience what you would put the real Japan, that's what they want.
Yeah.
That's where they feel comfortable, and that can be anywhere.
Yeah.
Usually we go out into the mountains and we go out a whole lot of places. Because we hire cars as well and drive, and so normal tourists are not going to do that.
Right. Well, that's good. Okay. As far as you said that crime's not real prevalent. I mean, there's probably crime in every country, but because of the honor system, you could leave your bag unattended and not worry about it.
It's more like it's organized crime, which we don't see because
cool. Okay.
that we would and a criminal element that's hidden.
Mm-hmm. Whereas
general everyday crime on the streets like petty theft and all that just doesn't exist.
Okay. What's your least favorite part, if there is one, of going to Japan? Any places that you would advise people to kind of stay away from, or no?
No.
No? All good?
No, I can't think of. I mean, I have my preferences because I like to go off track.
Yeah, off track.
And there's certain places I like to go because they have. I've got an interest in Japanese pottery and stuff like that, so I'll go to some of those places where I know I can hive out and go on the search.
Right.
So it's all. But some people really enjoy photography. So what's the criteria is that when we put out a tour to get expressions of interest, well, the first thing is we ask people, well, what do you want? And then we attempt to amend and tailor the itinerary so there's something in it for everyone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So what we did last time was we tested out one in winter, in which we got back. We did February this year, and we found that people like 3.5 weeks in freezing cold weather was really too much.
Oh, okay.
People were finding it difficult to cope with it, so we're cutting things back a bit. I was like, it's really cold.
Okay, when you say really cold, put it in Fahrenheit first.
What's minus 20 centigrade in Fahrenheit? Anyone got a Google? Hang on.
I could handle pretty cold, but I'm from Michigan, so.
Oh, you would, but when you're out in it.
I waited. Yeah, I used to wait for the bus at 6 a.m. in the dead of winter when it was sometimes 20, 25 degrees below zero.
Okay. Well, it's below 0 Fahrenheit, well below 0.
Okay. Yeah.
But not It's not like -40 or something, like or
Right.
-30 like we had in Finland. It's not like that, but it's still with a wind chill.
Mhm.
It's extremely tough to deal with.
Yeah, because when the air is that cold, it hurts to breathe. Sometimes the air is so cold.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like sometimes you're on the train and you're on a really cold place. They open the doors, but they won't shut because they're frozen.
Yeah. Sarah Jane knows. She says, "Yes, sir, Crips, my hair would freeze." It was so cold sometimes if your nose was running, you literally would have like a frozen piece of snot, like on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and your nose does run. It just doesn't seem to be able to help it.
Yeah, no doubt. Tell everyone just a little bit about what your tour does, if you don't mind. Just kind of walk through it for people. If someone might be interested, even I don't know, it could be.
Sure. Well, number one, the tours are by invitation.
Okay.
In other words, we don't just sort of put it out to public because we don't want some, I suppose you would call, jerk that could spoil it for people, and you do get them. So it's always by word of mouth recommendation or that, and there's usually it's limited probably to a maximum of 8 people,
Okay.
other than the guides,
Right.
because then it keeps it. The whole emphasis is on personal experience.
Mhm.
We don't want a tour mentality where you have to get up at 6 a.m., run for the bus, get your bag packed, put it outside the door. No, it's not going to happen. It's all about trying to cater for experiences that are relevant to the season of the year that you're going.
Sure.
Be winter, autumn, spring. You never go in summer because it's way too hot.
Yes, that's when I would not go.
It's horrible. No, you don't do it. It's just like being in New Guinea. It's really bad.
Oh, New Guinea. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like a sweat box. It's just terrible. So you don't do it. So basically, we design itineraries and then we modify them based on people's personal interests, and how we cost it. It's my son Jonathan gets a fee up front for all the work that has to be put in. I don't take any fees because I just go and help him out, but he gets a fee for that.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not that much. It's in hundreds of dollars, and then it's pay as you go. So in other words, you never pay more when you're on the ground than your actual costs, which means that you're coming out at less than half the price if you went on a guided tour, and you're seeing twice as much. And you're seeing things that are going to that you don't see on tours because they don't go off track. Because the difference is too, if you've got first time travelers compared like to Japan compared with people that have been there before, then you adjust it, of course, to include experiences that they may have had already. So you take them out and put other stuff. So it really is designed around the group.
Okay.
And then you just have to book 6 months in advance, which we can do, and because things in those seasons get very, very crowded, like for Sapporo for the snow festival, and most of the hotels we did for snow festivals, you get 3 minutes to book a hotel, otherwise they're gone. So midnight they open for booking, and within 3 minutes they're all gone.
Yeah.
So normally you just can't get in unless you know how to play the game.
Okay.
Yeah. And now that was that word. I just can't. Jen, can you send me that word again, please? I was just going to look it up. That you said for the forest, or spell it. I just haven't got it open. I couldn't find it.
I did the wrong one. Hold on.
She's getting it for you.
Okay.
And then I have another question about New Zealand. Now, if anyone on the panel has any questions that haven't been asked, do you have any other interest in Glens travels, go ahead and speak up. Oh, there it is.
I've been to New Zealand quite a few times, so I know about that place.
Hold that for just a second. She put it up in the chat, Glenn.
Which chat?
The live chat.
Okay, the chat. Hang on, I've just got to get to my other. I've got this on 2 different computers. Okay, hang 5.
Looks like Okagahara. That's the way I would say it. I'm sure I'm wrong. Do the best I can with pronunciations, guys.
Where is it in? Oh, hang on, I got the wrong thing. My apologies. Ayuka. Okagahara. Never heard of it.
Okay, you never heard of it. That's okay.
But I'll just quickly look at it. No worries.
And then,
if I know what it is, I might twig something. It's a way big country, even though it doesn't look that big. Sea of Trees or the Suicide North. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've certainly been around the area, but I've never heard anything to do with that. No, I have to put my hand up.
Okay. And let me just say this. We're going to talk about New Zealand really quick, and I wanted to leave the last little bit of the show. If you did have any off-topic questions that weren't related to travel, then I wanted you guys to go ahead and ask Glenn those questions. So now would be a good time for that. And Sarah Jane has a question for you, Glenn. And before I ask the question, just know that you're under no obligation to answer any questions that might be too sensitive for you. I'm not saying this question is, but we're definitely grateful that you're willing to share all this with us. And so if you guys have any off the travel topic questions for Glenn, get those ready, because we'll have a little bit of time to do that before we say goodnight. And then I'll ask Sarah Jane's questions. We'll talk about New Zealand a little bit, because I'm interested in going there myself. There's several places that I would love to go, not India and not Africa, but there's certainly places. And I wouldn't mind, I just wanted to say this, I wouldn't mind going off track if I was with someone that had been off track and knew what they were doing. I wouldn't have any problem trusting a seasoned traveler. Like, Glenn, if I were to go anywhere with you, I would trust, especially if you'd been there before, I would be willing to risk it, but I wouldn't do it myself. I wouldn't have that kind of tenacity here. I don't know.
Well, the common sense is you don't put yourself in risky situations. You don't walk down the middle of Barcelona at midnight. What are you, a fool?
Right.
I mean, it just keeps coming. Now, is it SJ and Sarah Jane? I just wanted to say.
Yep, it is.
Okay, she said, I'd like to talk about your son. I would be more than happy to do so.
Perfect.
Because he's been diagnosed since he was 6 and was misdiagnosed at 3 with ADHD. But yes, so and he's now 34.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news is that although he still has his issues, he's way better than he was. Mm-hmm. But the real key I found with him was you must have a lot of love for that child, and you have to give them a security blanket, because if you don't, I was told he'd be a delinquent at 15, but he's not a delinquent. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't do bad things. He's a responsible member of the community. Mm-hmm. But I hate to think if he had not been given the security blanket, what he could have turned out.
Sure.
So, yeah. So more than pleased. I can put my email up if you want to email me or chat. That's right.
That would be great. Pop that in the live chat if you're willing to, Glenn, and then Sarah. Sarah, there it is. He already did. So Sarah Jane, you can obviously send Glenn an email, and I'm sure he'd be willing to help. So Jen had another question, and guys, both on the panel and in the chat, just get your questions ready. But there's a couple people, at least one person that wanted to know the answer to this too. Glenn, maybe you see it. Jen says, Glenn, I know you don't believe in God, but you're spiritual. What would you say is your most spiritual experience?
Oh,
great question, Jen.
That is a really good question, Jen. You've been ready to pop that on me for ages.
Yeah.
This is payback, is it?
How did you know?
Oh. You caught me short.
That's okay. If you want to think about it, come back to me.
I can think of it in 2 ways. But number one would be the spiritual experience I've felt when I've gone to places and felt the energy in those places.
Right.
and there are a few of them. And number two would be what you might call with another person, or that sort of thing, with some sort of
Yeah.
connection, spiritual
Yeah.
connection, you might call it.
Maybe both. Could share both of those.
I'll come back to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Anyone else on the panel have any questions for Glenn while we're collecting them in the chat?
How does he, Glenn? How do you come up with all those questions?
Oh, that's a good question. How do you come up with all the questions for the show, Glenn?
The process is very obscure. JC knows the process. It's basically I just have conversations. I just get ideas in my head, and then I get a thought of what a topic might be, and then I go and see if there's some music that's out there that's going to sort of connect with my what you call biorhythms, and then I just sit down and do it. But let me tell you, it's not a 30-minute job. Some of those shows can take 8 hours.
Yeah,
or so.
He puts a lot of time into it.
There's a lot of thinking goes into it too, because I could be more open with a lot of the stuff that I would go, but I've got to be mindful of the fact what's the constituency of the listenership too.
Well, yeah, in fact, we had a talk very early on back in the blog talk days about having a kind of a vision of what we wanted, and we had to be very careful and painstakingly take step by step, because you can't just pull people into trying to be open and authentic and having conversations with beliefs that are different, and do it with respect and dignity, like we have on this show. In fact, even the people that keep coming back in the chat, they respect each other. We do have moderators in the chat, but we very rarely have to even use them for any purpose, at least for the people that are constant listeners. And so we've really accomplished, and I say we've, and I would say other than Glenn's spiritual beliefs aside, we would say that God had everything to do with setting up an atmosphere to be able to do that. We can still talk about spiritual things in here, and we don't all have to agree on the same thing. Glenn would certainly like a little bit more balanced panel, and I don't blame him, like someone that maybe was an agnostic instead of an atheist. So if anyone knows one that wants to be on the panel sometimes, let us know. But we just couldn't be happier, and we took it slow, step by step, but you guys have come along with us, and we're so glad that you guys have interest in the kind of conversations that we have here. So Glenn spends a lot of time on the questions for the show, and they've just been delightful. They've given us a chance to talk about our belief system and our faith, and to talk about a lot of different topics that we hope is beneficial to someone at least. So that's good. Any other questions from the panel?
I got one about traveling.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Glenn, do you think that that by traveling one can find some sort of I know about the feeling you get when you travel, but what about the feeling of fulfillment, at least for a little while, until you go traveling again, until you need to get,
yes,
traveling again?
Yeah.
That just was a little bit off track, that question. Could you put that another way, or just restate it again, please?
Traveling, do you think that people, not necessarily you, but do you think that you can find fulfillment in traveling, at least for a little while? So I would say I know a couple people who they are okay if they just got back from a vacation. But after about a year or two, they're really itching. They need to go travel somewhere else? It's like a fix that they need to.
Okay, that's a good question. I would say, for me, I get fulfilled no matter where I am. I don't need it I don't need to travel to be fulfilled, but I love to go traveling because it gives me new experiences. So the two are not related. I mean, right now, I think I said to Krebs, I get twitchy and I want to get on the plane. That's because that's not due to a lack of fulfillment. It's just I want to get going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's different.
That's a great question.
Right.
Yeah,
No, I just know a lot of people who well, I say a lot. I know a couple people that they just can't be happy if they haven't been out traveling within the past year or so.
Oh, crikeys, no. Well, when Sandra and I were doing this seriously, we were traveling. Like I'd work for 4 months and we'd go off. Then in 4 months I'd come back. Then we go again. Then we go again. Just kept doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And hence we've done a lot of traveling. So no, it's not a fix. It's not addictive. It's, if you said is it joyous? Absolutely, but no more joyous than sitting at home with my wife and being here. And well, because I think just if touch wood, if your health's good and you you can feel privileged with what you have, you don't need a fix. You have everything you want and it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter where you experience it, whether it's here or in the desert.
Yeah.
It can get addictive for some. Yes, I agree. Golgotha just said. I think it can be sort of, like I said, wanderlust and walkabout. Well, sure. Well, I would say when I get tired and I've worked hard, I do want to do it, but I could just as easily go to the beach too.
Yeah.
Or I can stay home. I can do what I like. It just depends what you feel like. But no, it's not addictive in that sense. It's just
Perfect. Esteban, go ahead, buddy.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I wanted to ask, what's the most spiritual place you've been?
Oh, good question.
That's a good question.
Well, spiritual experiences come to me in the form of, it's a bit like emotional overwhelming, if you like. It's like you feel something that you don't normally feel, and that's the places we go to. I can relate some. There's a rooftop in a hotel in Cairo. There's Montreal Cathedral. There's the Alhambra in Spain. I mean, I could give you 10 of those, but they're all underpinned by one thing, and that is the energy of the place is overwhelming. There's something there that you cannot articulate. It's just that strong that it brings you to tears. You just lose it.
Yeah.
And you can't help it. It just just thinking about it. That's exactly how I feel right now. Just thinking about it.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And it's what it is. I have no idea. All I know is it's real.
Yeah. That's great. Anyone else have a question for Glenn? I've got one if no one else does.
Well, Cupcake said, tell me about airport security. If that, you want me to deal with that?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, don't go to the USA.
Yeah, no doubt. It's ridiculous.
It's a nightmare. It's a paranoid nightmare.
It is. Oh my gosh, it's horrible.
I've done it. I've probably, I don't know how many airports, probably 50. More than 50 airports. Oh, it would be way more.
I've got a quick story to tell you about that. So my last year we flew, year before last, we flew to Michigan, and I took at the time she was 92, took my grandmother with me, and we didn't have any problem leaving the Charlotte airport. But when we went to leave back through Detroit, they put her in a wheelchair, which was great because Detroit's huge. The airport's huge, so to get from one place to another. And we even had an attendant, an employee at the airport, which was pushing the chair for us while I was carrying the luggage, which was great. And when we went to go through security, they had to have my grandma get up out of the chair so they could inspect the chair, which they provided, to make sure there weren't any bombs or anything in the chair. and then patted my grandmother. My 92-year-old grandmother patted her down to make sure she didn't have any weapons and whatnot on her. And I was incensed. I mean, I held it in, but I could not believe that they were putting her through such scrutiny. And just to add to that, everywhere I go, I get taken off to the side to get patted down every single time. It never fails. And I'm not on a no-fly list, and I've never gotten in trouble on a plane. I've never been thrown off a flight, nothing. But every time I go through there, they seem to they want to take me aside and pat me down. I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
It's that cute face.
Adorable. Thank you, Jen.
You just look so suspicious.
Yeah, like that's a terrorist waiting to happen right there.
And your grandmother, she looks like mafia.
I know, right?
I'm totally kidding.
Of course, she's a tough cookie. That's what that.
Like Gestapo.
That's right. Yeah, Grandma's a big time mob boss.
Clock yet?
What's that?
Have you fixed that clock yet?
Yes, I did. I did fix the clocks. So our electricity went off last night, and when this has happened several times over the past 2 years, it's over 2 years now. But it's ridiculous how often this happens. Apparently, the grid that we're on is susceptible to either trees falling on lines, car wrecks, or just random outages, and who knows why. But whatever the problem is, they don't fix it. But here's what happens every time the power goes out. It's happened like 6 times over the past 2 years. And one time it was out for 13 hours. It was absolutely ridiculous. But the first thing my grandma is obsessed about is me fixing the time on the stove clock and the coffee maker clock. She just cannot. She's undone. She's undone by the blinking clock that isn't set correctly. So that happened last night. Our power was out for about 4 hours. It went out at 10 and came back on at 2 a.m. And I'm not thinking anything of it. I in fact, my night table clock, I didn't even bother to set it. When I was ready to go to sleep, I went to sleep, and I'm not like obsessed about what the clock on my bedside table says. But she cannot get her mind off it. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that has nothing to do with travel.
That's our regular schedule.
I can tell you an airport story.
Yes, please do.
Jen, that's not being helpful.
What?
Just kidding.
Tell us, Glenn. Tell us.
Yeah, tell us.
Went to Damascus. British Airways, lost my bags again.
Oh no.
Yeah, typical. I don't have shares in British Airways, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I hope they're listening though.
Yeah.
Okay, next day after that, had to go to the airport to get my bags because no one speaks a blade of English, I didn't think.
Right.
So I walk in the airport and these 5 machine-toting guards start coming towards me. I think, oh, crap.
Oh.
What's going on?
You do not look like a terrorist, Glenn. Just
yeah, but
knows.
You're the only Westerner there.
Yes.
They're all... Anyway, because there's not that many Westerners were in Damascus at that point.
Right.
And they came up and said, "Oh, come over here." I thought, this is the end. They said, "Sit down." So I sit down. They said, "Oh, now can we have a chat? Oh, we want to talk about what the Westerners think of us are here in Syria, and all about all stuff like this. Just a chat about, what about the Golan Heights and what do we perceive and yada yada and all this stuff." So we just sat there for half an hour and had a chat, and of course the poor old taxi driver outside evidently was having a cardiac arrest because I haven't showed up.
Right.
So so it's just, you can't really know what's going on, and those guys were fantastic.
Yeah.
And all they wanted back was their land. That's all they wanted. They didn't care about anything else. They just wanted the heritage.
Right.
And so I can understand exactly why there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there.
Oh, wow.
And it's not like it's portrayed in the media. It's
Oh,
way
I'm
different.
sure. I'm sure it's not.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a little story.
Okay. I have one question for you, Glenn. It's not travel related. It's more about TSL and
Sure.
the amount of time that you've been doing this. And we talked a little bit about this off air. Do you care to share what the thing was that you've learned that before you just had no idea until you started doing these shows?
Gee, you ask some tough questions. I'm going to have to employ you to do the shows.
I can do the shows. I like that you do the shows though, because then and other than reading the write ups and setting it up, I sometimes don't know what it's going to be about because I like to do it off the cuff and try to answer the questions. It's fun for me.
What have I learned? Well, okay. You would think it's for an atheist on a show basically that's frequented by believers pretty well, nearly 100%, that there would be nothing in it for an atheist.
Right.
But it's not true, because just by going through the process of these things like we've talked about, trust and authenticity, it's really made me think and come to realize a lot of things that I probably didn't. And one of those things is there's a lot of bigots out there, but there's also a lot of genuine people.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm surprised, for a start, I never knew anything about being saved or whatever that was. Until I spoke with you, I had no concept that there was any other option but denominational churches.
Right.
Well, there was no reason I would know. So I've done a huge amount of homework and put a lot of time in to try to understand it. So that in itself is good because it's another branch of learning. So,
yeah.
And meeting people like yourself, Jen. We've actually met in person, and there's a lot of fantastic people in the chat room. And
there are.
I think just overall, I have to say it's for me, it's extremely worthwhile. And I don't see it as a them us mentality or a me them mentality, but I do feel that people tend to want to make it that way sometimes, and I'm not happy with that.
No, I'm not either.
This segregation into believers and non-believers, and that it doesn't really bring people together.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably my main issue with a lot of the stuff.
No, that's perfect. And I'll admit this too, just to tie into what you're saying. I had never met another atheist in my life. I've met several and have had conversations with many, and have seen, obviously, the ones that get the most press are the ones that are out there trying to get Christmas removed and keep their kid from being at a football game and hearing the prayer. They want to prevent any spiritual person from having the right to worship God in whatever the way they see fit. And that's who you see. You see the angry ones that are just saying horrible things about believers, and they're just attacking and angry and defensive, and that's all I'd ever seen. Of course, I've known you for a while, and I didn't see you as that. But until we really started getting into some of these questions and doing the shows, I really learned how ignorant I actually was when it comes to this particular topic. I am a little bit ashamed of painting with the same brush anyone that it claims to be an atheist. And I mean, nobody can see it, but I'm doing the finger quotes in the air as being the same. They're not at all the same. And the thing is, too, I should have known that, because my point was that people are painting, they're using the word Christian, and they're painting us with the same brush. They think that every one of us are the ones that are picketing dead soldiers, and the ones standing outside of a concert on a bullhorn with a big sign that says "Turn or before you burn," or saying that everyone's going to hell. They have that platform, and we're not all like that. So I think that I've learned quite a great deal in not putting everyone into the same category, and not using a big brush to paint people that don't necessarily believe the same way I do. And that was part of what we wanted to do for the show. When we originally started TSL, I wanted to be just true stories from people. And I thought people would be more willing to share their true stories, but I found out quickly that people do have true stories, but they're not really willing to share them. A lot of people aren't willing to share them. So when we started trying to do the show, I didn't want there to be division, because what I saw in the quote unquote church or in the Christian denominations is people tearing each other up and yelling at each other and calling people horrible things, and even in the quote unquote Christian world. And I didn't want to have that on TSL. That was one of the things that I did not want. I wanted to have people come to the table, and even if you believe different things, to be able to have discussions about it. And let's get to the bottom of our differences, and let's learn that we can believe different things, but we can still get along. We can still have a conversation, and we can even grow in friendship. We can have fellowship in the chat, and we can all believe different things, and it be okay. And I think we've proved that's possible. At least for me, I think it's been a great way to change my thinking and to not be as broad in my concept of particularly atheist. I mean, other people believe different things, and that's fine. I'm more familiar with that. But I think I did a real disservice by putting everyone else in the same category. I don't think
Sorry.
No, I'm done. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say what I feel less hostility towards me than I see believers treating other believers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, because that really has me totally mystified why this happens.
Yeah.
Because I just can't see how it should happen. It should be all have the single focus, which is, as you say, the gospel, etc., etc. But it just seems that for some unknown reason, people get off track, and then they start heaping it on other believers and being judgmental, as someone said in the chat. I agree totally. I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And I just shake my head in disbelief as to why this is happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've got no issue at all with the way I've been treated.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But so yeah.
Rapture Ready says, I agree with that, Indigo. Fellow Christians are vicious, LOL. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Now, not the ones in here. So there's this oasis in some ways that we can come and have conversations. Rapture Ready also says, I feel TSL's neutral ground, kind of. I'll take that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's how it's meant. It's meant for all comers, albeit that we're skewed in the favor of believers.
Yeah, but it didn't necessarily have to be like that. But I haven't had people lining up, non-believers lining up that want to be part of the show, or even agnostics for that matter.
No, I think because it came from a stable of a group of believers shows, it sort of morphed out to the side of that you already had a predetermined, if you like, interest group that was going to come if they were going to come.
Right. Perfect.
That's just, Now, an answer to that previous question.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. I have to say the one out with travel is a place in Ireland that Sandra and I got out of the car, and we just sometimes walk in opposite directions, and we probably got to like 200 meters apart, and we started to walk back, and we're both crying.
Oh, wow.
And we just said, what? How come? So there's something, it's just like, look, I know it's nothing to do with what you call spiritual, because I can relate spiritual in terms of experiences that I can't understand or have no concept of, or I can relate spiritual to a commonality of higher end values. It can be anything it can be spiritual, can be anything you want it to be, of course, because we all see it in a different way. So the fact that the two people can go in different directions and yet feel something similar,
Yeah.
I would say is that's pretty poignant and be overcome emotionally was that. Okay, personally, it has to be the spiritual connection with Sandra.
Yeah.
Because I had no chemistry. You know, we normally meet someone, a new person, you got the chemistry. None of it. Nothing like it. Totally like a few emails. That was it. 4 or 5 emails total. Just got together, as I've said before on the show. We just went home together and we lived together. It was like already connected at such a high level that we were just. It was all done. Everything was done. The chemistry was over with. We were just like we'd already lived together for 1,000 years, probably, or whatever you want to put on it. So, very, very different experience to meet a person under those circumstances, whereby you just feel so connected at a top level that everything else is going to fall into place. And of course, it just did fall into place. And we're still hanging out together and as strong as we ever were.
You sure are. You're a great couple, and having spent time around you guys in person, I absolutely loved that experience. And if you just heard you in passing, sometimes you'd wonder if you weren't just bickering all the time. But it's in love, and it's just a different kind of.
They call it banter. So
banter.
And very culturally Australian. It's like the more you care for someone, the more you take them out.
Yeah.
And if you heard some of this, and I've toned it, stuff I would say to Sandra, if I said that in the US, people would think he hates that woman.
Right, exactly.
He speaks to her like she's something, unprintable. But it's not, it's the total opposite.
Yeah.
It's endearment, and that's very Australian.
Oh, that's Australian. Okay.
But it's also probably a bit more excessive than most people would do.
Sure.
But whatever works, as you know.
So getting back to the story that you just told, I think it absolutely is the connection between the two people that can have that. It's the spiritual connection. If you have that, then a lot of the other things definitely fall into place. And at least that's true for me.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean, like some people say, oh, you had no chemistry, but that doesn't mean there's no passion. That's the way it's equally or more intense in that situation.
Sure.
It's not just like it's all about the grey day and it's all honky. It's all just go through the motion. It's way passionate.
Yeah.
It's way intense. It's just that you're not taking out that you're not living through that initial rush of chemicals that usually overwhelms people. You're just basically getting on with being together and enjoying every minute. Simple as that.
Yep. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Glenn before we say goodnight? Anything else? Okay. All right. Well, hey, Glenn, that was relatively painless, right?
Yeah, I thought it could end after 10 minutes. I thought, geez.
You're a lot more interesting than that, Glenn.
Yeah, I tried to tell you.
You guys help.
Well, sure. This is a team effort for sure.
Yeah, I found it actually it was enjoyable. But if anyone has got any questions off the that they want to ask outside, or no worries, just put my email up there if you want to know anything, have a chat, whatever.
Yep.
More than happy to do so.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Glenn, for being willing to answer the questions, and it was I thought it was enjoyable, so I hope that everyone in the chat enjoyed it. And so we appreciate your time, and we appreciate everyone in the chat. Guys, thank you for being here tonight. And we'll start with Glenn. Glenn, just take a minute to say goodnight to everybody, and then we'll go down the line.
Good night, and thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed being able to share stuff. And it was much more fulfilling than I thought. So that's really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Glad to hear that. Thanks, Glenn. Jen?
Thank you, Glenn. You're a pretty amazing dude, and I'm just glad the chat got to, and some of the panel got to hear a little bit more about you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, it's great hanging out with everybody, as always.
Yeah. Esteban?
Thank you for having me on, and it was awesome getting to hear about Glenn and all of his travels and getting to ask him some questions.
Yeah.
For one, well.
Absolutely, yeah. Turn the tables a little bit. That was good. Yeah, thanks for being here, Esteban. Appreciate it. Matthias?
Yeah, it was fun. I was just sitting back listening. It's nice hearing first person stories about places that I will probably never go. And it's just there were a couple things that I heard tonight. I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to go.
No.
I don't want to just suck it up and move forward. Not when it comes to being food poisoned. I've been there, and it's, man, I wouldn't want myself to be incapacitated in such a way.
No, me neither.
In a foreign place.
Nope.
But I am a little envious because I don't even want to travel like that.
Yeah.
So I know I'm not going to, but I don't call it.
I'm with you.
Call it what's the word? It's not fearful. Call it too precautionary.
Yeah.
I'll just wait.
Yeah. Just wait. Yeah.
I'll see it all one day.
Yeah. Sure will.
But it was great listening, and like I said, it's awesome hearing firsthand stories, because even the firsthand stories helped me realize that's all I want to do is hear them, not see them.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I'm with you there, especially India. I'm like, oh, cool. They have some great architecture. Nice. Done. I've been there. I don't have to wade through the crap. The human.
Come on, buddy. Get that food poisoning, India. Get some bacteria.
No, I'm good. I'll just stick with my filtered water. No problem.
You have to bargain for that too. 4
Yeah.
cents a bottle, and you're bargaining to save a cent. Go figure.
Okay. Well, I don't want to offend anyone, so I'll go ahead and bargain with them. No problem. If we're in Morocco, at least. But I'm going to try that Scottish breakfast. I'm telling you that right now. Just go have a big breakfast and take a nap.
We'll take you to Scotland.
Okay.
We'll do the interpretations for you.
Nice. All right, guys, we're going to call it a night. Thank you again for being a part of the broadcast, and thanks again to the panel for being here. Thanks especially to Glenn for being willing to answer some questions for once. And we'll be back again next Sunday night. And until then, I hope you guys have a blessed week. Until then, good night, God bless, and take care. Good night.